The Impala is up for beauty mods in the most daring and essential aesthetic phase, the wizardry of paint. Knowing where this car began might suggest only a fairy tale ending will see it through, but we won't rely on kissing a frog. This sultry princess will only find her style and allure with the expertise of skilled hands. Once upon a time means nothing. Wild and wickedly ever after is all these guys will accept.
Teams will take different roads to get to the same place. Some won't get creative until there's paint. Others have to have all creativity out of the way before they'll apply any color. Hey, don't be pushing without me.
Oh.
Where are you going?
We're gonna put this on the hoist. We're actually gonna take the body off the chassis today. What lies ahead is a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of work, probably a little bit of stinkosity, and a lot of anger coming from our wives, to be honest with you. I mean, probably the next 2 weeks, I would probably see my wife a total of maybe 8 hours. So we're just planning for that. It's gonna be long, hard hours. We got a complete car to build essentially in 2 weeks. The upholsterer needs a full week on the car, and we have to assemble, drive, work out all the bugs in a car in 2 weeks.
A lot of teamwork goes on up to this phase. For weeks, the guys have looked like a choreographed ballet company, but the dance isn't done. We've just gotten the second act out of the way.
It's taken about 10 weeks to get to paint. 3 cars, 4 sets of seats, a partridge and a pear tree. It seems like it's taken a long time to get to this stage.
The panels were all prepped on the car, then taken off and individually sprayed. I started with the silver first.
Ideally, you want as much of the car in the booth as possible when you paint, but this is a '64 Impala. I don't think they make booths that big anymore.
Working 7 days a week is hard to keep our energy level up. The biggest obstacles we had was the time crunch that we're on.
If this is the result of time crunches, I'll be setting my watch an hour fast from now on.
So we applied the silver, and once we saw the glossy finish on the panels, it just looked awesome. I mean, it seemed like all the hard work paid off.
Paid off so far, but there's still loads of work to do. Each panel has to be cut, buffed, and polished. And you have to wait for paint to harden. Timing is everything.
The paint that we chose for it was Orion Silver, which will be applied on the bottom of the car. The paint line will be cut right at the top of the fenders along the entire length of the car. The top of it will be House of Color Raspberry Red. The 2 colors match Classic Industries paint schemes that we've done in the past. They're not identical, but extremely similar, but with a little bit of the House of Color flip.
Finally, the beast is in the booth.
This car is about as long and flat as it gets when it comes to painting cars, and that just means that your panels have to be perfect. I mean, there's no opportunity for any kind of obstruction.
Luis was showing Dan color sanding and buffing. That's a long process in itself. One door can take up to 8 hours to do, 7, 8 hours.
Okay, so that was cutting, what we did, and this is buffing. This is a buffer, right? It's a little buffer.
There's nearly as much artistry in buffing as there is in painting. Lay on too long and too hard, and you'll see primer in a flash.
The red required a black base, so we shot 3 coats of black base and 5 coats of red on top of that.
If you added all of the hours of actual application of paint, it's probably almost, I'd say, a day and a half to 2 full days of shooting paint. Now spread that out over time, with blocking in between, letting paint cure, things like that. I mean, we're kind of speeding up that process a little bit, and it's taken about a week to do.
With the Impala painted, this is not a gray day. It's a silver day with a little burgundy mixed in.